It's Valentino Badass Son of Boosie Podcast. I got my co-host, my brother with me, Gold Mouth from the South. What's going on, my brother?
What's happening, people? What's happening? Gold Mouth from the South. How y'all doing this beautiful Saturday morning?
So, Gold, today the topic is going to be about Michigan judicial system. That's a very, very key topic, man, and I feel like the people need to know, especially those who are living outside of the state line, need to know what's going on with the Michigan judicial system. So tell the people what's going on right now.
That's a large opening wound that is just now getting to the forefront and noticed by the rest of the United States. Michigan is horrible from top to bottom when you're dealing with attorneys, whether they public defenders or paid, the prosecutors and the court, meaning judges and justices. There's a lot of disproportionate sentencing, disproportionate pleas that are offered to those who are willing to accept them, and the jury selection is never of our peers. And my personal experience being from another state and catching a case in Michigan was the right word. It was a lopsided justice. That's the best way I can put it. And when I say that, I came up here when I was 17. I caught a body at 18. I left the streets with barely a 7th grade education. When I came to MDOC Corrections, Riverside Quarantine in 99 and took my TABE test, my score was 6.8, meaning 6th grade, 8th month education. I could barely read. Pretty much, if it was more than a goddammit 8-letter word, couldn't read it. I later found out that I suffer from dyslexia, and not having any knowledge of law nor any understanding of the judicial system, I was just ignorant to this side of the game, because this is another side of the game, yo. And I had to go fight a murder case with a public defender, and this motherfucker was horrible. He came and seen me 3 times in the county jail, and the third interview, he came to me and told me, he said, "Listen, young man, you're young. I can get you a plea if you're willing to plead guilty to a 2nd degree. Under your guidelines, never having an adult record, you would be given 20 to 40 with a mandatory 2 for the firearm." At this time, fresh 18, I'm thinking the laws is the same as down south, day for day. I'm thinking, shit, 10, 12 years, I'll be in the goddamn street.
Right.
I'll be barely touching 30. And lo and behold, he told me that when he went back, talked to the court and the prosecutor, came back and say, okay, everything agreed. Next week we're going to have what they call pretty much it was a bench trial. Right. And it was a fact-finding of the phase before the bench trial to accept the plea.
Right.
And it was where you have to give the court enough to say that you were guilty, and there's no jury. It's just you, your attorney, the prosecutor, and the judge. And with what you say, if it's enough for the court, meaning the judge, to accept the plea, he will sentence you shortly thereafter.
What county this in?
This was my case was combined out of Wayne and Jackson County.
Out of Wayne and Jackson County. Okay.
The incident arrived in Wayne and ended in Jackson, but the murder and the kidnapping ended leaving Wayne.
Right.
And there was a situation where doing this fact-finding part of this bench trial, my attorney objected to the judge that he had enough to accept the plea. But my understanding and my lack of knowledge led me to believe that once I said in open court, I plead guilty because I never denied the murder.
Right.
And no matter what, I will be given that 20 to 40.
Right.
So doing this, the judge and the attorney had a brief argument because he objected. And he demanded, okay, listen, next week we're going to continue this shit. And I'm going to call him to the stand and ask him some more questions because I don't believe that he's telling the truth. So at that point, I didn't know what the fuck was really going on. So we leave out the courtroom. My attorney pulled me to the side and he say, well, next week we're going to come back. He's going to call you to the stand and ask you a few more questions. Everything is going to be all right. Just answer the questions as the best as you can. This motherfucker did not prepare me or even give me any kind of, what's the best word? Any kind of advice as to to conduct myself or answer the questions.
He didn't do his job. He didn't give you no type of legal assistance.
There was no trial strategy whatsoever from this motherfucker.
Right.
None at all. And the following week, we go back for this continuation of this bench trial, which is called a degree hearing. And to determine whether the degree was first, second, or manslaughter. Because they originally charged me with open murder. Down south, there's no such charge as an open murder. You either charged with first, second, or manslaughter. So I never understood exactly what open murder really means. And he never explained to me what open murder was, nor that in order to be found guilty of a first-degree murder under the statute of open murder, there has to be an underlying felony. The fucked up thing about the situation that there was no underlying felony at all. They claimed that it was a kidnapping, but it technically wasn't no kidnapping at all. They claimed that they found some duct tape around the victim's fucking wrist. And there was actually none. They found some on the side of a fucking house, man. And they I don't know if they planted it, but they took it off the side of the fucking house.
And they never found no fingerprints on this duct tape.
Man, none of this shit, man. None of this shit.
Yeah.
And when we get to this degree hearing, he calls me up to the stand and asks me, so what happened? I said, we got into an argument. We got to fighting. I pulled out a gun and I shot him. I never denied this at all from the jump. Only thing I denied is when I went back down south, I told them I never came to fucking Michigan. But they had a picture of me from a hotel camera and a phone number I called that placed me in Michigan, and a chick that said that she had a seed by me. And when I seen this fucking picture in the detective interview room, I say, bitch, ain't no way around this shit. But when he asked me what had happened and I explained to him, he kind of was upset because of the way I articulated. And I could tell because the way I was talking, I never had been on no stand or none of that before. And I was kind of aggressive, I won't even say aggressive. I just was conducting myself as if I was talking amongst my own peers.
Right.
And you can't do that in no court.
Right.
You can't do that. And when I explained to him the circumstances, he pretty much was like, nah, I'm not going for this shit. So then he allowed the prosecutor to ask me a couple questions, and I pretty much told the same thing. We got into a fight. After an argument, I pulled out my gun and I shot him. And me and the prosecutor had to end up exchanging words, and then they removed me from the stand. At that point, they told me they was gonna sentence me in a week or two, and come to find out that my attorney never really locked in this plea agreement. And not knowing that with any plea agreement, the judge does not have to accept that no matter what the prosecutor and the attorney and the defendant agrees upon.
Unless it's a Cobb's agreement.
With Cobb's agreement, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And this was not a Cobb's agreement.
Right.
This was pretty much a public defender, a public pretender, let me correct that, taking advantage of the miseducation and the ignorance of a youth. And the thing that really pissed me off that I later found out was that this prosecutor that was handling this case was in a relationship with this public defender that was appointed to me. And I found that out 5 years after I was sentenced, and they started a law firm together. So what this motherfucker technically did was threw her on a high profile murder case to get her first murder conviction for some head or some pussy. Probably both, just to be honest.
Right.
And they sentenced me to a natural life sentence, man, December 17, 99. And
so what you was describing is that there was a conflict of interest, a due process.
Correct. And there was also what they call a Brady violation, the prosecutor not turning over all of the discovery. And I later found out in this discovery that there was an illegal search and seizure of a hotel room that I was staying in. And these phone records was not properly taken. And they also never had any witnesses to this murder.
So you saying they never had a warrant to go inside of the hotel room?
They never had no warrant to go inside of this hotel room. None at all. I was on the run for maybe a year, close to a year. And they found these phone records, called one of the numbers. What I did not know was that a detective detects. And he did his job. He traced this number and called it. And a young man answered the phone, and he asked this young man, did he know of Pete, or anybody that started with a P? And he said, yeah, man, this guy's a brother of mine. And I technically was not this man's brother. So that led him to go down south to where I was on the run at in Kentucky. And I had ended up getting locked up for a dope case and a pistol case down there while I was on the run. And he came and seen me. And he asked me, though, like I said from the beginning, have I ever been to Michigan? I told him, hell no, I ain't got no people, no nothing up there. What the fuck am I doing up there? And he left, came back a couple weeks later with this picture and these phone records. And which at that point I was like, shit, the jig is up, pretty much.
Right.
But the coercion between this public defender really was there's no other way to say it, but it was technically foul as fuck. And when I came to the Department of Corrections in '99, it took me about 2 years to really get in full throttle and getting familiar with how prison really was. I was Brooks across the street in level 4. A brother named Omar X from Kalamazoo, and another brother, his name was Mario X. They like to cross the hall from me, man, in this level 4 unit. And Omar X slid and pulled me to the side, gave me the message to the black man, and the brother gave me a knife. I hate to say it, but the brother did. And he said, these 2 things gonna keep you alive in here, brother. Every Saturday we go to the law library from 5 to 6:30. Give me your name and number, I'll put your call out. And we have study groups on Fridays and Saturdays. Mm-hmm. And the brother encouraged me, man, and took a liking to me. And he schooled me, and I salute that brother. And during the course of this stay at Brooks, I stayed there for a couple years and going back and forth to the law library. I never fully understood it at the time, but I got what the brother was, where he was guiding me to. And I never could comprehend the language of law or fully grasp certain things about it as far as issue spotting and ineffective counsels and pretty much how the judicial system really works. Right. And it took me a minute. And I asked a lot of questions, and I received a lot of good answers and guidance. And it wasn't until 2005, man, I'm at Oaks Level 5. And they take us to this little room that has a typewriter and some pretty much throwaway law library books. And I messed around and got a hold to I seen a defender's handbook sitting in a crate. And it called me. And it just kept calling while I'm sitting in this cage, man. And I'm looking like, what the fuck? So I go dig through the crate and I can pull it out. I look at it. I stuff it in my drawers and sneak it back to my cell. And I'm going through there and I'm looking at some of these issues. And I see an issue of ineffective assistance to counsel. And it was certain paragraphs that dealt with like conflict of interest, trial counsel not being effective. And one paragraph stood out with trial counsel not pretty much not looking at his client's past history and his educational level and his competency. A lot
mitigating factors.
Exactly. And a lot of people think competency deal with mental illness, but it's not. Competency in pertaining to law means your understanding of the procedures that's going on.
Right.
And I'm looking at this shit and I'm reading these definitions in here, and there were some things that I seen in my mind just tick. And the defense mechanism kicked in, and I seen some loopholes in this book. And one that really caught my attention was trial counsel's failure to investigate his past client's mental illness. And this took me back, and in conflict of interest, this took me back to when I was 17 before I came to Michigan. I got into some shit down south and got arrested, and I was facing a life sentence down there. And the public defender down there had me psych evaluated because down there they had to have a bound over here in the try as an adult, right. Not like Michigan. And they give me a psych eval. The following week we go to court. They come bring this pistol, this bag of dope, and shit in the courtroom. The chief of police, and the judge asked, "Who you here from?" I see the bag with my name and shit on there, and he said, "I'm here for Mr. Watkins." And he said, "Well," the judge tells him, "Well, you can leave. We don't need you here." And my attorney looked at me like, "Yeah, I did that for you, dog." And they called me up to the podium and shit with my attorney. He say, "Well, Mr. Watkins, today your lucky day. The psych came in and said that you're not capable of understanding these procedures, so we can't bound you over and try as an adult. what we're going to do is sentence you to the Cabinet of Human Resources to a juvenile facility for 6 months or until you complete the program. I completed that program in 4 months, got right back out, got into some more bullshit, and had to go on a run and fled up here. But that same incident, when I seen in that defender's appellate handbook, brought me to like, damn, this trial attorney never asked me once my grade level, never anything about my family, my past history, nothing about any of my, they didn't even have my fucking records from down south. That's how fucked up this situation was. But I learned how to write a motion, a 6500 relief of judgment motion. So I sat in my cell, put together one and submitted to the court. They granted it. Gave me an evidentiary hearing. Unfortunately, they affirmed the conviction. I appealed to the Michigan's Court of Appeals. I appealed it to the Michigan Court of Appeals, and they granted it. Gave me